Today we're talking with Gary Shapiro. He's the president and CEO of the CTA. Essentially, him and his team are responsible for delivering the Consumer Electronics Show every year. We're not in the United States this year, of course, because we're not allowed to leave the country of Australia where we live, but we are still talking technology. Gary Shapiro, good morning or good afternoon for where you are, sir. Thank you for giving us some time.
Thank you for focusing on CES and all its amazing excitement.
Gary, one of the things about CES is it's the biggest show on earth for technology. There's obviously a number of reasons for why you've gotten it so big, but while you had the most amount of time to deliver a digital CES compared to other expos, you've also got to deliver the biggest expo digitally. What's been the biggest challenges that you've experienced so far, and how have you solved them?
Well, certainly it is because of the pandemic, we were able to reimagine CES. That gave us the opportunity. And we did make the decision earlier compared to a lot of colleagues around the world. We felt we wouldn't be ready to have face-to-face events in January because of how long it would take to get a vaccine distributed. So we did plan, but we also had high expectations because of our brand and what we deliver physically every year in Las Vegas. And in other places around the world. So we had to be very careful to meet the brand expectation that CES would be amazing. So we've had to balance that out, and we had to look around, and we found that we didn't want to do what others had done, which is take a software package and have pretend exhibits and have avatars running around. We wanted to do something special, and that meant we would really try to elevate the concept of what a digital show could be. And it allowed us to focus on what's important. And what's important is connecting people, personalizing the experience, allowing them to discover new things, allowing them to go across their vertical that they're in, because that's the very definition of innovation, is to combine two different concepts and create something new. And we also wanted to get some of the best speakers in the world, those committed to the production values and making news and doing something amazing. And we've done it. I mean, today is nearing the end of the first day. We had our press day yesterday. We planned for 1,000 companies to exhibit. We're over 1,900, and we had to cut it off because we wanted everyone to have a great experience. We had, of all the people that registered, over 70,000 agreed to opt in and share their information and be able to contact each other. So we've created the largest LinkedIn, in a sense, for an event probably ever. Wow. And we were also able to change the show dates. We were able to do all sorts of things, including extending the dates of the show for 30 days afterwards. So our site will be live with those 1,900 exhibitors accessible, and all the amazing content and conferences and educational sessions and keynotes available on a, watch it when you want to basis. So we've already accomplished a lot of those things, and we're in progress still. But watching the keynotes, Verizon talking about 5G, Mary Barra, the CEO of General Motors, not only introducing a new logo look, but talking about the future of electric cars and showing all the different things they're doing. Others, AMD, Lisa Su, presenting the future of technology. And then all these press conferences, all these other things that the companies have done, and watching some of the sessions, talking about healthcare, 5G, artificial intelligence, transportation, mobility. There's so many different things that we've done. It's been quite an exciting launch, actually.
CES is the biggest event that I know of that's held in Las Vegas every year. There's hundreds of thousands of people that attend, and we're one of them. And when we all can get together again and meet at the Las Vegas Convention Center, which has been expanded because you get so big, you're so big now. When we can do that again, will you keep some of these additions that you've brought in for 2021? Because it really has flattened the curve of access for international media, especially, and international tech companies to engage with your association and with your event.
Absolutely. We certainly tried to keep the best of the existing physical CES, but it did force us to reinvent and reimagine and do different things. But the press has their own access. We have several thousand press from all around the world that are now able to access. Before, we definitely had a record press turnout. And we also, our plan is for 2022 in Las Vegas to have the physical event. We've already had hundreds of companies sign up for that. But we also want to keep the best of the digital. And we're going to look at all the data, look at what happened, figure out what worked. And we made a major investment here. on behalf of the industry, we went forward. But the truth is, one thing we've all learned as a result of this pandemic is we want that human connectivity and touch. We want to be with each other. We want to do it in a safe way. So certainly the CES will be different next year than it was last year and than it will be this year. This year is purely digital. It was hopefully a once in a lifetime opportunity. But next year, as we look at a hybrid event, we want that face-to-face experience. And we will also allow, hopefully, a huge digital component as well.
One of the reasons CES is as big as it is because of the infrastructure that was built in Las Vegas decades ago. You know, the convention center, the Sands, those kinds of things. One of the pioneers of that development and construction passed away this week, Sheldon Adelson. How important were those decisions that were being made decades ago to build up Las Vegas to be that convention center masterpiece location? How important were those to the success of your event today?
Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge the sad passing of Sheldon Adelson, who's truly a legend in many ways. He accomplished so much. I actually worked with him. We built a building together, his very first building in Las Vegas, because he started the Comdex trade show, which was the world's dominant technology show at the time. We had CES and we approached him and said, hey, we both need some more space. What if we build a building together? And we literally signed a contract in August and had it ready for his November event. And I got to know Sheldon pretty well. He was one tough cookie. I mean, brilliant guy, phenomenally successful. And then he sold the show and built up the Sands and the Venetian and the Palazzo Hotel and the hotels elsewhere in the world. Amazing guy in so many different ways. A little controversial, I'd say, lately, but it was certainly almost fitting that today he passed away as we were starting CES. But he was a legend. But along the way, even before Sheldon, to be honest with you, and before me, Las Vegas had a plan, and they had brilliant people that really focused on building up Las Vegas, not only for gambling, but focusing on the fact that it's a business destination. And today, Las Vegas has 3 of the 10 largest convention centers in the United States. They have also more hotel rooms than any city in the Americas, over 150,000 hotel rooms, quality rooms too. And the airport they keep investing in, it's an international airport that's amazing. And they have people that are just dedicated to hospitality and entertainment and great food. And their labor force is so skilled and good at building a little city, which is what CES and other shows are. So there's a lot that goes into their success equation, frankly, and they're hurting. The toughest phone call I had to make was when we were about to announce our decision in July, was to our friends in Las Vegas, because they were all focused on CES, the new year, starting anew with a whole crowds coming in, but they're suffering, as are a lot of people around the world in different ways. And that's the thing about this COVID virus. It's affected everybody. But it's forced us to change. It's helped with the digital transformation. Technology has provided a bit of a solution. Imagine if this had happened 30 years ago or so. I don't know how we would be doing a lot of our jobs, how that would affect the economy even worse than it has. So technology has had a really good moment with COVID because we've provided so many of the solutions out there. But we all want to get back to, I can't call it normal, because with this digital transformation, with the changes in healthcare and mobility, and even how smart cities will look, and the focus on resilience and everything else going on, including the focus also now on broadband and 5G and the need for it, it'll look like a different world on the other side of this. And we'll be there. But one thing the technology industry does is it adapts, and that's what humans do. Is we're adaptable creatures, and we'll come out on the other side stronger and better and smarter. And we'll figure out. We have big discussions on healthcare here. One of them is about what we could do to use technology to solve more healthcare problems.
One of the things, Gary, about COVID and your event is that we've seen all these announcements about supporting technologies for COVID released at your event. If that's not symbolism of the adaptation of technology to this, in this example, this pandemic, but other things as well, we've seen examples on. I don't really know what it is. I mean, it's very, very clear that technology is going to be providing the solutions tomorrow of the issues that we're having today. What are some of the key things that you're seeing at this event that sort of give you the excitement for the next 12 to 18 months ahead from here?
Well, certainly the focus on artificial intelligence. I mean, it's how we got quick vaccines out there. We never could have done that 20 years ago. and also the ways we're treating COVID. I mean, in healthcare, focus on telehealth. I was just watching a session. We were talking about how all of a sudden, I mean, that's gone up like an incredible amount. People talking to their doctors remotely, and that saves a lot. It saves transportation, it saves other things. But even if you think about self-driving cars and the effort there, that's become more important now. Other forms of mobility, where people live now, how buildings are built, smart cities. There's so many things that are coming quickly because of this COVID, and it's affected the arc of technology and what's being introduced. Certainly, I mean, there's obvious things like disinfecting type of technologies and things like that, which have great value. But it's the artificial intelligence and the importance of broadband, which has really been brought home in the long term. In the short term, a lot of focus on electric vehicles, on self-driving. Also, what we're seeing is in other areas, the use of drones has become more acceptable to deliver things, to deliver healthcare solutions, especially in not only rural areas, but underserved areas. And robotics is increasingly important. Obviously, robots don't spread germs the way people do. So there's a lot out there that's all connected into this, in the sense, this new world we're heading into, where technology will solve a lot of the fundamental problems that humans have had of healthcare, of access to water, cleaner air, as well as food creation, distribution, and communication. And we're seeing in education as well. It's hard to come up with something that's not been touched, in a sense, by COVID changing the arc of technology.
Gary, final question for today, because we're almost out of time. One of the things that we talk about in terms of facilitating the skills in our kids of today for tomorrow is coding. You met a lot of people in this industry who have been successful in technology. Can you just quickly explain to us the fact that, or highlight the fact that their understanding of the bedrock of technology, because they understand coding or robotics or their industry into that small level of detail, because when they were going through college, they learned those basic levels of technology. Can you explain how important that is, so that we can pass that on to the kids of today? Because if somebody like you is saying that and referencing that, it helps us to educate our kids even better, so that they are going to be the innovators of tomorrow.
Well, certainly coding is a building block, but so are other sciences and math. And engineering, material sciences, how things are built, the material that's being used. There's so many aspects of these things. And it's important that not only the kids start out young and get excited about that, but it's also that they look at other areas, because innovation is putting different things together. So that, the kid that just does one thing all the time and becomes an expert in one area may be good. But if you really, to innovate and to do things differently, you got to understand other aspects of life. Even with our own employees, we encourage them to get involved in, voluntary local boards, or do something, or learn another language, or travel, or do something to exercise that creative portion of your mind and the innovative portion. But you do need to know basic things. I argue with my kids. My son says, "Why do I have to know how to spell or learn it?" And spelling, I kind of get it. But in things when it comes to basic math, basic science, physics, electronics, chemistry, coding, it gets into artificial intelligence. It gets into robotics and drones and self-driving vehicles. How do these things happen? They don't happen by themselves. And we are in this history, this era of human history, where the acceleration of innovation is getting quicker and quicker. And one thing that's happened in 2020 is it got really fast. The digital transformation, we had to shift, and that's what we do as humans, and that's why we're succeeding.
Gary Shapiro, good to talk to you. Best of luck with the rest of the CES this year, and a big thank you to your team, who are supportive not just during CES but throughout the rest of the year, for people like myself to engage with your organization. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Charlie. See you in Las Vegas. Have a great 2021.